Hi everyone, it's Tony Campana from Tony Marie's Creations, and I am going to show today what was the third card that I did in my June card classes, and our topic for that month was fun folds. And I don't have the name of the person who I got this original format for, but I will make sure I have it in the tutorial. But when I first did this card, I did it for a special monthly tutorial that I'm part of. That was also Fun Folds, and this was the card that I made. And the nice thing is this stands up on its own, which is really nice for displaying. And even though it looks like it's complicated, it actually is not difficult at all. And it does fold flat to go into a card, a regular envelope. So that will work as well. So this was the first card I made using this format. And then this is the card that we created in our card class, which is featuring the fauna, let me get the name right, Fern Flora, the Fern Flora stamp set and dies. What I do when I get my stamps and dies is, if the dies are strictly coordinating with the stamp set, I put them in the same envelope. That way I know they're always right where I need them. If it's more of a generic type of a die set, like shapes, I'll usually keep that one in its separate package, because if the stamp set happens to retire, the dies might still be around, and I want to still be able to use that packaging. So this is a set I've used on the cards we did for class, and I used also a coordinating the DSP and the coordinating embossing folder, which is a lovely folder. It looks so nice when you're using it. So it's a little hard to see, but it's got all sorts of different fern leaves in here. And you'll see as I create the card how that looks. The first thing that I wanted to do with this, though, is show you how to create this card base. And it's really not difficult. Like I say, it looks a little bit complicated. And in fact, when I first saw the card, I just looked at it and said, oh, I think that's going to be too fussy. So I set it aside and decided I wasn't going to try it. And then I did finally pull it back out and said, let me give it a go and see how this works. And it's not bad at all. So I'm going to move the project out of the way, and I'm going to show you how to actually cut the card for creating the base. So normally when we do a card base, it's 8.5 by 5.5, and then we scored at 4.25. This is a little bit different. I'm going to open up the arm of my Stampin' Up! Paper trimmer. And so a card is normally 8.5 by 11. We're going to cut this down to 8 inches. So I'm going to do that first. And then I need it 5.5. So I'm going to come over, let me close this back up. And I'm going to come over and do 5.5. Okay. And now I've got a second piece that I can make another card base out of that. Okay. So the first thing that we want to do once we have this base is we're going to score it at 2, 4, and 6 inches. So on our Stampin' Up! Paper trimmer, we've got 2 blades. The dark gray one is the cutting blade, and I'm going to move that out of the way because I don't want to cut right this moment. And this is the scoring blade. So I'm going to score at 2, 4, and 6. So we have 2, 4, and 6. And 6 actually goes right up to this edge, but it is also, it shows 6 on the ruler at the top. You always want to make sure that your paper is aligned flat to the top so that everything is going to be even and level. Okay, so that's the first, scoring at 2, 4, and 6. Okay. Then we're going to turn this to the short side. So this is the long side, 8 inches. This is the short side, 5.5. So we're going to take it and turn it to the short side. And we're going to lay the left edge at 1 inch. So I'm going to move this over, find 1 inch on my ruler, on my base here. Oh, and one of the things I wanted to mention to you, so let me just take this out of here. I actually do a little thing on my paper trimmer. I take a piece of tear tape, and let me just lift this up and show you. I take a piece of tear tape, and I just put that behind the ruler here. Otherwise, it's clear, and it's a little hard to see the numbers. You just don't take the tape off the backing part of it. Just leave that tape in place. But this gives you a visual, better visual to see what you're actually cutting. So let's go back to this left side of your paper on the short side, the 5.5 inch side. We're going to lay this down. I'm going to get my scoring blade out of the way. And we want to cut down the paper from the 2 inch mark to the 6 inch mark. Okay, so I've got a couple of tips for you on this. Whenever you're cutting something like this, and I'm gonna say cut from 2 to 6, you don't want to start right at either one of those measurements. What I just do is find my blade somewhere in between. I drop down this, and then I'll move this up to 2, and then I'll come down to 6. That way it gives you a little bit more room to maneuver. So I'm going to take this, I'm going to turn it around to the opposite side, and I'm going to again line this up at 1, and I'm going to lay this down, and I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to cut from 2 to 6. Okay, all right, that's all the cutting that we're going to do on this. Now I'm going to turn this on the long edge, okay, the 8 inch edge. Again, I'm going to do my left side. I'm going to align it at 3. And I want to score, so I'm going to pull my scoring blade down here, and I want to score between the 1 inch to 4.5 inch. Okay, so again, I'm going to just press this down here, and I'm going to follow my ruler, so 1 inch to 4.5, but you can also look at it as scoring between the 2 cuts that we made. Okay, so that's exactly what we're doing. We're scoring from 1 inch to 4.5 inches. Okay, and then I'm going to flip it around to the other side, left edge at 3 inches, and then again I'm going to score it between the cut lines, which is 1 inch to 4.5 inch. Okay, and that is really it for the base. It's not any more complicated than that. Once you do it a few times, you're going to get more comfortable with it. And then you're just going to go ahead and burnish all your folds, okay? I've done that. I've done that on this piece. So the 2 sides are going to come and fold in this way. Okay. And then the center. And then you've got these smaller short sides there. And then we'll just slide this over. And you're going to cover up that center score line, and you'll see that in just a few minutes when we get to actually put the card together. But that's the basis for the card. So let me just bring the card back in. Okay, so that's the card base, and then we're just going to go and decorate the card. Okay, so let me move this out of the way. So I have my pieces. I went ahead and did some prep beforehand just to keep the video moving pretty quickly. So I have a 3 by 3.5 piece of basic white, and I have embossed it with that folder. See how pretty that is? Okay, and this does go a certain way. So the 3-inch goes in between, okay? This is going to be used on the back of the card. I realize I didn't show you the back of the card. That's what the back of the card looks like. You can continue with designer series paper behind on the back parts, but I prefer to just showcase the embossing folder again, and then I made my sentiments over here. On the front, I did utilize the designer series paper. Okay. So I've done those pieces already. I have my designer series paper lying here. Let me just get this all pulled out. I had it all nice and neat, and then I just got it all messed up again. Okay. So you're going to do 4 small strips of, let's see, what are those measurements? 1 3/4 by 7/8. Okay, so you're going to do 4 pieces of those. Okay. And they're going to go here. Okay. These are going to go here. Okay. So again, pretty simple. Let me go ahead and get these on here. I like to kind of flatten things out again so that I'm not trying to work harder. And of course, tape doesn't want to. Oh my goodness. Oh, this isn't good. Oh, there we go. Guess I just hadn't moved it enough. Okay. And actually, it looks like I did a boo-boo on this one. I came down a little bit further than I needed to. But you know what? It's all good because I'm just covering it up. So it's no harm, no foul. Like I say, I always like to tell my attendees at classes, they tend to say, oh, well, you've been doing this for so long and you don't ever make mistakes. That couldn't be any further from the truth. I always find myself making boo-boos, as we all do. I mean, none of us are perfect, but it's usually something I can recover from fairly quickly. But again, I think this card template is one that once you get it done, you will find lots of uses for it. And again, I like the fact that it stands up and it's displayed. So, you know, people get your cards and, you know, put them in a drawer or something. But this is something you can actually stand up and have it on your countertop, or if you have a mantle, a fireplace mantle or something, or put it on your desk as a constant reminder that your friend made you a handmade card. Okay. Again, as you see, it's just a matter of applying your whatever designer series paper. And make sure if your paper's directional, when you're cutting it out, make sure you're cutting it so that your pattern is going the right way. This one's pretty forgiving. Okay, I am going to go ahead and put this on now. And I'm only going to apply tape to the inside here. Okay, we don't want it coming out here, because if we do, then that's going to inhibit it from folding properly. So, and again, I don't really know where I want that tape to go here. So to me, it's just easier to put my tape here where I know I want the cardstock to be. And I'll just put a piece here and a piece here. Okay. And again, it's kind of hard. This has got stuff going in both directions. So, I mean, it's up to you what you want to be the focal. I think I'm going to do it that way. So I'm going to lay that in here. And you know what? I feel like that is being a little resistant. So I'm going to, I might have cut this just a tad. Let me move that out of the way. A tad too long or too, I'm just going to shave a little bit off the bottom. because again, you want it to be able to open and close without anything rubbing. So yes, that's better. Okay, so I'm going to center that. Okay, and as I said, I did one of the side panels with this as well. So let me flip that over. Actually, I'm going to use liquid glue, and I always tell my attendees, my card class attendees, that when I'm putting something that has been run through an embossing folder onto my card, I like to use liquid glue so that it gets down in those nooks and crannies, and it's going to give you some better adhesion. So it's my preference. Of course, you can use whatever type of glue that you like, but that's what always seems to work for me. And again, it gives you a little bit of time to move that around if you need to. I went ahead and stamped my sentiment, and I did the little leaf behind it. I will tell you that's another little boo-boo I did. I knew I stamped off on the leaf. I forgot that I stamped off twice to make it lighter, and you can see the difference here. It's nice and light here. I just kind of wanted a little bit of the image behind it, and I had done it a little too dark there, but it's okay. It's still okay. And of course, I made a boo-boo on the back, so I turned it over. It's always the other side of the paper, right? Okay. And then the last thing on this card is our sentiment, and I'm going to show you a trick for that as well. So I went ahead and I stamped my sentiment, and this is a die from the set, and I've just moved it out of my way apparently because, oh, there it is. Okay, so this is a die out of the set, and there's also a coordinating stamp. So this stamp will will give you an outside edge of this if you prefer, and I just went ahead and die cut everything without the edge for this particular card. But there's options. So and again, I didn't want to have to fuss around with trying to glue this because it's so intricate, and this as well. I mean, this is pretty intricate too, but I think it's such a pretty die, and just using that little bit of gold to pull the card together, I think is just really pretty as well. So my trick is to put a piece of tape across the back, double-sided tape across the back, and then just lay your die cuts along the back there. And then this one I'm going to have, and I'm actually kind of bringing some of the die over top, and I'm just going to press that down, and I'm going to just snip this if I can do it without, should have done it before, so I don't have that hanging over there, just to clean it up a little bit. And now I'm going to go ahead and put dimensionals on the back of this. And I am really generous with my dimensionals too. I just don't like there to be any buckling of my cardstock pieces, so I like to use a lot of dimensionals. Okay, and you could attach this. You could either do it this way. I kind of like it off a little helter-skelter, a little skewed here. And I'll just press that down into place. And then the gems that come with this set, again, were right here in my hand. Oh, here they are. So they've got clear, the dark Secret Sea, I think that is. It doesn't have the colors on there. I'm going to go ahead and use, I think I'm going to use the green. Let me see if I can pokey tool. Okay. And again, remember I've always said you want to put odd numbers when you're doing your embellishments. And it's also, I've read that, you know, doing things in kind of a triangle, so your eye kind of goes in that direction. It's also something that they recommend doing to point or to make it more balanced, more even. And so that's the card. Again, it wasn't difficult. Once you got that base cutting down, knowing where to score, knowing where to cut, it really comes together fairly quickly. And like I say, you're just, it's just a card that you want to put on display. It's going to be sitting out for your friends to see. Again, there's the back. And that's it. So there is a tutorial that I'll attach to the video. So you'll have the actual, all the measurements and all the supplies I used. And I do hope that you will give this card a try. It really is fun. All right, thanks for following, and I'll hope you have a great holiday weekend, and I'll talk to you soon.